Welcome to Prevention Leaders Podcast with Dave Clausen, your source for insights into the world of substance misuse prevention. Each episode, Dave brings you the latest strategies, expert discussions, and real-life success stories designed to empower your work and inspire impactful change. Whether you're a prevention professional, community advocate, or simply passionate about making a difference, this podcast will keep you informed and motivated. Get ready to lead with a confidence that drives lasting results. Let's lead the change together.
All right, folks, here we are back for another episode. And today I'm chatting with Amber, and we're going to talk about how we as prevention professionals can help folks, but in a little bit different way than we're used to. So let's get right to it. Without further ado, Amber, welcome to the podcast.
Thanks for having me. Happy to be here, Dave.
Yeah, looking forward to it. I know we just jive when we were doing our planning call and just connected, and just conversation just flowed so naturally. It's going to be a great day today. It's going to be a great day. I think you're going to bring a lot of value to share with our audience. But before we get into that wisdom that you're bringing to us, can you kind of introduce yourself, who you are, where you're at, and what do you do?
My name is Amber Hollingsworth. I am in South Carolina, in case you can't tell by my accent. I am a licensed addiction counselor, a master addiction counselor, and a licensed mental health counselor. And I've been helping people with addictions for more than 20 years now, 21, I think. A long time. Makes me feel old when I say that. And I guess I would say the thing that I've sort of perfected and gotten really good at is engaging people who are either in denial or don't really want to get help. Because I've spent 20 years talking to people in my office who didn't want to be sitting there initially. So it's just some of that, you're in the deep end and you got to learn to swim kind of thing. Yeah.
Yeah, and the old, I don't know whose grandmother to attribute this quote to, but a person convinced against their will is of the same opinion too, still.
Yeah. Sounds like a Dr. Seuss, but I like it. I love Dr. Seuss.
Right. Well, what kind of got you into that work? How'd you end up there?
I ended up here by accident, which I know isn't the normal sort of origin story for people in my field. I feel like an outcast, an outlier. I'm not sure, but most people come into this field because they get into recovery themselves and they feel passion and they feel led to help other people, which is a great reason to get into the field. And I come from an addicted family, but I don't have any kind of substance abuse addiction in my history. Now, I am the kind of person that will do everything excessively. I feel certain that I definitely have the thing inside me. I just haven't activated it. I would like to be able to say that I got here because I came from an addictive family. And it is true that I do come from that kind of family. I mean, everyone, grandparents, aunts, uncles, cousins, siblings. My mom was doing meth with my sister. So, I mean, for real. But it's not why I got in the field. I didn't even realize all that until I was in the field. So, because when you grow up in it, it's just normal. You don't think that much about it, to be honest. It just, you just don't. And so I got here because I initially went to school to be a school teacher, and I taught high school for a few years, and that was like horrible, terrible, hard. That's like, oh my gosh, the hardest work ever. And so I was like, well, I'm going to do something else. I decided to go back and get a counseling degree. Well, I thought, well, I'll just get like a school counseling degree because, I was a teacher. I was in the school system, so it seemed natural. But I got almost all the way through the program and was looking at internship. And in order to be a school counselor, you had to intern for a year, which meant I couldn't work as a teacher. And I was like, I can't not work for a whole year. Like, I'm like, support myself. So I changed my major at the last minute so I could do the internship in the summer because I was a teacher, and that way I could work it out. And I changed it to community mental health at the very last minute, and they threw me into an addiction, like intensive outpatient program as an intern. And then that place hired me, the place I interned. And because I had taught high school, and I wasn't good at it, but I didn't tell them that, or it wasn't. And I had, sat in the chair and watched someone else talk to adults for 6 months. They decided they wanted to like open up a teenage addiction drug and alcohol program. And they just decided I was the one to do it because I'd taught high school 5 minutes and watched somebody else talk to people with addictions for 5 minutes. And so they said, all right, develop it and then run it. And I was like a baby counselor. I was like 24. I was in so far over my head. It was ridiculous. But I wasn't going to say that. I was like, yeah, I got it. But that's how I got here. I accidentally.
That's how you got to your current role. That's your, I'll call it your day job. But you got something else going on too. Has to do with what that neon sign behind you? Tell me about that.
That my origin story as far as how I got into addiction is that story. Eventually I left that hospital. It was a hospital I was working for. I was there like 10 years. Eventually I left there and started my own private practice. And then people would say to me all the time, they would say, man, I wish I just had that on recording so I could like play that back. And to me, I felt like, gosh, I just say the same 15 things, like over and over and over. And so, this was kind of like round about the time when YouTube was like becoming popular. And I thought, well, I could just record it and throw it up there, and then my clients could watch it. I wouldn't have to like give the brain talk, and I could just say, watch the video. So I initially started a YouTube channel really just for that reason, just so I didn't have to give the same speech over and over, and I could just send my clients to it. So I kind of landed in YouTube by accident. That's sort of my style, though, honestly. And my friends say I'm shoot first, aim later, and that's true about me.
You got a lot going on in YouTube. Tell us about your YouTube channel now, because I mean it's something.
Yeah, it is called Put the Shovel Down, which I know sounds like a strange name, but it's an old recovery saying, and it says you hit your bottom when you put your shovel down. You don't have to keep digging. And my goal is to help people get out of this situation before they hit bottom, before they burn all the bridges, before they lose everything. I think the idea of waiting for bottom is like silly and ridiculous. So it is its own beast now. I would say about 35% of my audience is people thinking about getting sober or in early recovery. And the rest of my audience is family members with addicted loved ones. Because what I do mostly is teach them how to get through to their loved ones in denial, because that's what I've had to learn to do for all these years. And I'm like, yes, it can be done. It's just not the way you're trying to do it. Do it this way instead. And I'm like, say this, do this, blink 4 times, stand on your foot, cross your fingers, and and I teach them all my magic tricks. And so that's what we do.
All right, so folks, listeners, watch this full conversation, then head on over to Amber's YouTube channel and subscribe and check out. Yeah, there is a ton of wisdom there. It's good. There's over 700,000 people at wisdom. So yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I got like over 1,000 videos. I was like,
that's incredible.
Crazy.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
Well,
it's crazy.
I want to kind of go along with put the shovel down.
Mm-hmm.
You hit your rock bottom when you stop digging. You'd also just kind of mentioned when we were planning this episode the concept of raising the bottom. So there's first put your shovel down. Okay, great. That's where your bottom is. What about raising the bottom?
Well, the idea of raising the bottom has to do, it's a sort of a technique one of the techniques I teach family members is they get told over and over and over by everyone else in their life, like, their friends, their family, their doctors, when they have like an addicted loved one, they just get told there's nothing you can do about it. You just have to wait. And this person has to hit bottom and maybe they'll figure it out. But when this is just like your parent, I mean, when you are a parent and this is your child, or this is your partner, your spouse, that's an unacceptable answer, right? Just if this is your child, like, just hope they figure it out, cross your fingers, make a wish, not acceptable. And beyond that, you get told maybe like go to an Al-Anon meeting, which I'm not saying is not helpful, but sometimes can even sound offensive to people because it can feel like I'm not the one with a problem. Why do I need to go to a meeting? So you have to be careful with that. So a thing that I teach them is raising the bottom is, how do I get someone that's functional to see that they're not functional? And it's kind of, you can do it in simple ways and big ways, but the simple way to do it is, instead of telling someone, you're messing it up, you're unreliable, I can't count on you, you just make it really obvious by asking them just to do things that would be completely normal and the person wouldn't think anything about it. Can you help Johnny with his algebra homework tonight because I'm going to be busy or whatever? Can you pick up dinner? Can you heat up dinner? Can you do the dishes, whatever? Very reasonable things so that when they don't do them or they don't do them consistently, they can't like have an excuse for it. And when you ask them to, and you don't freak out, you are asking them knowing that they're probably not going to do it. So don't ask them something that like will like be a major crisis if it doesn't get done. Okay, so but you're raising the bottom because you're allowing them to see the gaps in their function. Because so many people that are functional still, they do well at work. They do well in their day, whatever it is that they do. Maybe it's even staying home taking kids, and their job is to take care of kids. They'll do well, but in the evenings or in their family context, they start like dropping balls, basically. And the family is the first one to see it. And the family starts telling them, you got a problem, this, that, the other. But their experience in life, that I see a lot of super, not just functioning, but like real high functioning alcoholics. They'll be like, I made $300,000 last year. What are you talking about? I can't be an alcoholic, And so you have to kind of set a situation up that allows them to see it for themselves. And the crazy thing about it is when you do that and they drop some balls, the key is to have empathy when they do it, which is going to take everything you got. Because your insides are going to be screaming. You're going to be so upset. But you got to remember, you're doing this strategically. You set it up for this reason. And then you're going to be empathetic. When someone messes up or experiences a difficulty and you're empathetic in your response, it activates the learning part of their brain. And then they start connecting dots. And you don't even have to say, because you were drinking or you were high or you forgot. You don't connect that dot for them, because that will immediately make them defensive. Don't even mention the word. Just have empathy. Oh, I know you meant to do that. Like, that sucks. I know you must feel horrible about it. They will then hear that and they'll be like, yeah. And that was because they may not say it out loud to you because they're not going to admit it to you, but they start admitting it to themselves. And so what's happening is they start to see that they are dropping the balls, but you're not necessarily directly pointing it out. Does that make sense? And so that's how you can get somebody to figure it out faster.
Yeah, and you're not directly calling them out. You're not judging them about it. I'm curious. So as I kind of play out the scenario, I can imagine a partner, a parent having that urge to keep the fact that, hey, every Thursday they drop the ball on picking up the dry cleaning or bringing home dinner, for example. Having the urge or the reflex to want to remind them that they dropped the ball, to keep it top of mind so it's not like, oh, they're going to forget about it. I got to hey, do you remember last Thursday? 3 Thursdays in a row now? Like, to where it feels like nagging and judging. I don't know. Does that happen?
Yeah, because not only do you not want to like respond with the I told you so, but you don't want to make sure they get it done either. Like, you don't want to remind them 20 times. I'm glad you brought that up. Because the goal here is for them to see the discrepancy in their functioning level and in what their values are and, what they said they would do and they did it. It's making it obvious to them. So you don't want to remind them. Like, I remember this was a couple of years back, but I was talking with this woman whose husband had a drinking problem, and I think they like owned a bar or something. I think they maybe owned several. I don't know. It was something like that. So, that complicates things. So he would be like, I'm going to go down and, check on things at the bar or whatever. And, what that led to. So one night they had a really good night. Things were getting along. I feel like it was like a special occasion or something. And it was kind of like, it was later at night. It was like 9 o'clock or something, 10 o'clock. They were coming home from something. And he said, I'm going to run down to the bar or whatever and check on this or do this, but I will be back by 1 o'clock in the morning or 2, whatever. He set a deadline. Doesn't even matter what the deadline was. Well, he didn't come home when he said he would. And of course, she knew it because, of course, she's like hyper vigilant. She's awake, like looking at the clock the whole time and is just fuming under, her breath. But she's pretending to be asleep when he does like come, sneaking in at like 5 o'clock in the morning or something. And the thing of it was is I had trained her. I said, don't call him and make sure he comes home. The goal is you had a really good day. He felt really good about y'all's situation, because that means you're not in the bag I roll, which is a whole other piece of the thing. And then when he makes that promise and you're like, okay, babe, fine. And he doesn't fulfill that promise, if you will just do nothing, even like if you'll just be neutral, if nothing else, he'll feel the pain of that. If you call and remind, nag, preach, lecture, I told you so, it activates the defensive part of the brain. And we're all like that. It's just a human response. And when you do that, you're making them justify their behavior in their head. Like, think about something, somebody got onto you, did something, and you knew you're in the wrong. You think, yeah, but you don't understand because blah, blah, blah. You don't want to make someone think that, because that's like hardwiring it in their head. They're convincing themselves. And you sure don't want to get them to say it. That's like a double convince. You want to set the situation up to help them see it. And that means sidestepping over those defensive buttons.
Yeah, you got me thinking. So early on in my recovery journey, really the first sort of few years was really focused on building healthy habits. So I started using what I called an accountability calendar. I just got just a plain Jane big desktop calendar, put it on my fridge, and every day I worked out. I put a big old X on it. And if I was slacking off, every time I walked by that refrigerator, that accountability calendar was yelling at me. Oh, where are all the X's? Where are all the X's? Or look at all the X's. Dave, you're doing great. So I wonder what that might look like, depending upon the ball that you're tossing them to carry, to catch, to not drop. If a mechanism, a tool like that could also kind of help not have to nag, but still have it sort of right in front of them so that they notice it. Thoughts?
Well, I do have some thoughts about that. The reason that works for you is because you set that up for you. If you had put that on the calendar and I was your wife or something, and I'd be like, I didn't see no X on your calendar today, you would have got defensive. Even though you set that goal, I would have literally disrupted the natural process of you feeling the weight of that, because now you're just ticked at me, right? I can just imagine all the defensive thoughts you. So that works because it's your value. You thought it was important. You set it up, and that's you reminding you, right? So it has to come from that person. And trust me, they know. You don't have to say it's because you were drinking or it's because you were high. They will connect the dot. If you just hold, they'll connect that dot. And when you ask them to do these things, it's most effective if it's something you know that they feel is important, they care about. Like if it's really important to them to be a good mother or father, or, like if something is it's a high value of theirs, and then you let them see the discrepancy between what they value and how they want to see themselves and how they are, they'll connect those dots so much faster. It's amazing.
I can still remember the very first time I fully connected the dots between my drinking, and it wasn't in a counseling session. It wasn't related to drinking at all. It was just a short, 5-minute personal development activity of first list all the words you would use to describe yourself when you're at your best. All of them, brain dump. Great. Now look at that list. Circle 3. Your top three. Pick them. Got it. Okay. Now looking at those 3, only those 3. Think about what's taking you away from living those out every single day.
Dude, that's powerful.
It was a 2x4 upside the head.
Right. But that's a great example of what I mean when you have to have a conversation in a way that makes that person's brain answer that question for themselves, not you. Right. That's exactly it.
I didn't have to share that answer out loud. That wasn't the activity. It was all just a conversation between me and my piece of paper.
Yeah.
Like I can still feel it. Like I'm getting goosebumps because it was just, yeah.
And you make another good point about they don't have to say it out loud. They don't have to admit it to you. Our brains answer questions just like we reflexively get defensive. Our brain will answer a question. immediately. It can't help it. It has to do it. So if you set a situation up to make a brain answer a question, they may not say the answer, but they will think the answer. And so that was a perfect strategy of showing you the discrepancy between your values and your behavior.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It was, yeah. Period. End of sentence. Yep, absolutely. And we've talked about raising the bottom, the different methods, and helping the individuals connect the dots without nagging, without judging, responding with empathy, and letting them be the ones to connect those dots to help raise the bottom. But you also talk a lot on your YouTube channel about putting the shovel down, and you don't have to hit rock bottom as well. So unpack that in counselor terms. Unpack that. Tell me more.
I would say you don't have to hit bottom. You just have to know you're headed there. You do have to realize that you're on that path, and that if you don't stop, that's where it's gonna go. In my experience working with people, there's a piece of them that wants to change always in the process. Now that piece grows and gets bigger and they get more reasons, but it's always there. And if you can help someone bring that to the surface, and it usually has to do with what they value, whatever that is, if it's being physically healthy, whatever, if it's being a hard worker, when they can start to see the difference in how they see themselves and who they're being, that's a super strong internal motivator to change. And I see people get better all the time before they lose everything. That's all. I mean, I dealt with them teenagers for years and years, and they got sober as teenagers. And I promise you, they hadn't lost everything because, they had parents holding them together. So.
And I mean, that's part of why I share my story. I didn't hit what folks would call rock bottom. I finally, and you were saying, wanting to change, that drive's always been there. Yeah, it's like I got sick and tired of being sick and tired, and I used moves where I would move to a different state for work. Like, a chance to change my drinking behavior. I cut back. I don't need to be party Dave. But I always got sucked back in. Like, I wanted to change, but I got pulled back in because, well, number one, that's what addiction does. But also, number two, looking back, sobriety wasn't my goal. And that did not set me up for success. But once I flipped that switch, no, sobriety is my goal. That was the catalyst. But yeah, always wanting to change, trying to change. And so
That's really smart that you say that, because that's step 2. So step 1 is getting them to sort of notice the problem. And then they'll start to see, this is the issue. But they won't think I need to get sober. They're not going to think I'm an addict. They're going to think I need to rein it in. I mean, that's natural, right? And so you're going to be mad because you're going to be like, no, you need to stop. But the only way to get someone there is to let them try to rein it in. Try the geographical cure. Try to just drink on weekends. Try to just smoke 3 times a week. Whatever it is, they're going to try to pull it back. I call it the bargaining phase. And that will go on for a while. You're going to have to let them try several things. And if you respond to those things in the right way, you can't make someone skip it, but you can speed it up.
That's kind of where I was going. It's like you read my script. Just kidding, I don't have a script, but that was kind of
Well,
my.
it is a script. It's predictable. Yeah.
That was where my curiosity was headed. Was the cutting back, as you called it, the bargaining phase. For those of us, we might notice an individual we're concerned about that we think, oh crap, they need to sober up, they need to quit drinking. But if you notice any sort of wanting to cut back or any sort of change, what should they do? Support it is what my mind says. Be supportive, be empathetic. But what other advice would you have for that scenario?
Exactly that. You want to be supportive, and you got to realize that if someone's saying that, that means the change process is in act. We're moving. That means we're getting there, and so get excited about it. If you don't understand how it works, you're going to be frustrated because the person's going to do this multiple times. It's going to be some trial and error, not just once, multiple times, and you don't want to. You don't want to intervene and help them be successful with it. Like, for example, if your husband comes home, he's like, I know I messed up, I screwed up. From now on, I'm not going to drink liquor. I'm not going to drink more than 4 beers, whatever it is that's their bargain. And it doesn't even, here's the key, it doesn't even matter what they say. If they said, I'm not going to drink more than a handle of vodka a day, cool. It doesn't matter what limit they set. Because if it is alcoholism or addiction, they will pass it. They will go over the limit. It doesn't matter where the line is. So when you have them do that, when they say that to you, you say, okay, now you're going to have this instinct when you see your husband doing the thing he said he wasn't going to do, you're going to want to say, I thought you weren't going to do that. Or you're going to want to count the beers in the fridge. And when he reaches for that, fifth one, you're going to want to say, you said only 4. Do not do that, people. If you're interfering in the process, because if your goal is to try to get someone to see that the bargaining won't work, for gosh sakes, the last thing you want to do is make the bargaining work. Now we're just extended this another 6 months. Right. You got to be very strategic.
And I can't even put into words the shame that I felt all internally when I let myself down, when I set a boundary and I stepped over it, and like the shame that I don't even know how, like I'm struggling for words because I don't know how to explain it, but I hid it from everybody. They didn't know. Oh, he's just hungover. Oh, whatever. They didn't know, but oh my gosh, it's there, y'all. You won't see it. They might not vocalize it, but
That's exactly what Maxine said. It is there, and your job is not to interrupt it, because that's the thing that's going to make someone ultimately change. Most people think it's like the big, giant consequences, and those are important because they can give you like little moments of clarity. They don't really make you change, because it's really easy to decide in your head any one thing you can excuse away. Well, that only happened because it was Super Bowl. Well, that only happened because those cops, they got a quota and they pull everyone over. Everyone I know got a DUI. Like, there's a way to either excuse it and minimize the problem, or they'll just try to figure out how to not let that one bad thing happen. Like, well, okay, I'll just take Uber from now on, but that's still not addressing, like, I have a drinking problem or whatever. So it's always in there. People will figure that out, just like you. Did you have someone in your life, Dave? Like, were you living with someone?
no, I was solo. I was bachelor. Different periods. There for a while, I had a bar and a kegerator on my back porch, living by myself. I lived above a bar in a 1-bedroom apartment. Also a donut shop, which was cool, but
And you figured that out because, here's the thing, Dave, because there was no one else there to stop you from figuring it out. And that family members, they just don't understand that they're impeding the process. Because if you'd had someone there that was on your ass, you would have felt angry and resentful instead of that feeling that ultimately made you. It's my theory. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah. Well, I'm curious too. So I have folks ask me, my husband, says he doesn't want to drink anymore, or doesn't want to drink hard alcohol anymore. He's going to stick to beer. Like, I still like to drink. Can I drink in front of him?
The question is, you have to ask the other person that question. I can tell you what I think generally works and doesn't work when it goes to that. If a person is right now starting to be sober, like the first few weeks or months, I probably wouldn't, and they may tell you it's okay because they'll feel bad for making it hard for you. Like, they don't want their problem to affect you negative. So they don't want you to miss out, I guess. And so sometimes they'll say it's okay. But in the first few weeks or months, I probably just wouldn't drink in front of them. After that, after someone's been sober for quite a while, almost all of my clients tell me it doesn't bother them to be around someone having a drink every now and then. And a lot of them have spouses that still have a glass of wine at dinner or whatever, and it doesn't even bother them at all. Now, it will bother them if you're drinking a lot and every day and like getting like sloppy, because it's not fun to be around a drunk person. That's just it. And it'll bother them in that way. So my go-to answer is just ask the person what they think.
I would echo all of those just from my own personal experience. Early on, I didn't want to be a burden. I didn't want to be a buzzkill, a downer Dave. But internally, I would be wrestling with the internal pressure to want to fit in, to want to drink, and all of that would kind of make me feel like I should give in and drink. And so it was uncomfortable. But then I sort of reached this point. I'm kind of still there sometimes. Certain situations, meaning like certain bars or restaurants, like bar slash restaurant, if it reminds me of like my scene, like, oh, this is my place, my people, like, oh,
Yeah,
it like,
like that's my song. Like
yeah,
it's like
yeah.
that. Yeah, it's like
It
yeah.
doesn't make me want to drink, but it takes me back to reflect on who I was then. And it just makes me feel weird. Like I don't even know how to describe it. It's not like I'm down and depressed. It's like, go away, part. I want to be thinking about you.
Well, and that's so good too because that means you're so far out from it. It's hard to even like you're different. You are a different person, I'm sure, and it's hard to relate back to that. And it's not. Sometimes it's a good memory, but sometimes it's not a good memory, and usually it's just a bunch of mixed memories,
I
a
say
lot of
it's
mixed up
both.
feelings.
It's
Yeah, it's
both.
like, hmm
And I think that
yeah,
muddiness is part of why it's that just like weird, like, wait, I was drunk back then. I don't want to look on it as a good time. But then again, part of it I did enjoy. Yeah. Oh,
right,
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
I guess another thing to keep in mind though, and I've had a lot of clients say this, like if it's alcohol and it's your family member, don't drink their drink. People that drink, they have this my drink. I drink bourbon or I drink wine or I drink like if you are gonna drink around them, like don't order their drink because obviously, right? Obviously that would be even more of a trick. I had a guy once. He said, "Yeah, my girlfriend's got White Claws in there all day. I would never drink one of them things. I don't care. That's ridiculous. Like, doesn't even tempt me or whatever. If White Claw is your thing, then don't have those. It's just whatever is your drink.
How'd you know I was a bourbon drinker? It's not written on my
I
face
did.
anymore. Yeah. Okay. I'm so talking about, raising the bottom, helping folks understand that they don't need to hit rock bottom, responding with empathy, no judgment, no nagging, support, letting them connect the dots inside their own head. What about, even just us as like prevention friends and family members that very first approach, like if we see, we think, we feel like, oh, they might need to make a change. That first like approach. How do we handle that?
You don't approach the topic. You let them approach the topic. So
Easy
what you
enough.
can do, you can approach the person and build a relationship with them that that makes you the go-to person, so that you're the safe person. And when they're ready, and that if they are going to talk to somebody about it, it's going to be you. You don't. If you bring it first, they're going to start avoiding you like the plague, and you're going to be the last person. So you just build a relationship with them. I call it building credibility with the person. And we have a program called the Invisible Intervention, and I call it your credit score. I teach people how to calculate how much credit you got, like emotional credit with this person. Like if this and this and this happens, you get this many points. If this and this and this happens, you lose some points, just like your like credit score. And so it's in one of our like online programs. It's this whole like step by step process. But like, yeah, you can definitely. But like, it's basically helping you understand if this person sees you as safe and how do you get credible is someone has to feel like you understand them completely. Like, because even if, I mean, they know you love them, but that's kind of annoying sometimes, to be honest. And it's like a burdensome. That's not going to be the thing that's going to make it. But if they think you understand, then your opinion matters. Like, your grandmama loves you, but if you think she don't get it, you're probably not going to take her advice. So you can't give advice or offer a suggestion or anything like that until number one, they're ready for it. And you have the credit score to cash in that your opinion even matters, because usually families are doing that way too soon. And not only do they not have credibility, they have like negative credit because they're in the bad guy role. And so your opinion, they're just going to do the opposite of whatever you say because you said it. So you got to like shift the gear. So you can do that. You can start to build credit. You can set up the situation and become that person. They'll talk to you about other problems. And if you handle those correctly, then you're getting that credit score up and they will come to you about it. I mean, I've done that for years as a counselor.
What would be some, I'll call it guiding principles, some some pillars, some things to keep in mind as far as how to navigate when they bring any problem to you, as they're building their credit score.
You don't want to be critical or negative or I told you so. You just want to listen with empathy. Like think of yourself like a counselor, a coach, a consultant. Just try to be a good listener because your goal is for them to see you as a person who gets them and validate any point of their story that you feel is valid. There may be things that they're frustrated about that you don't think is valid, particularly if it relates to the stuff. Like let's say somebody's complaining to you about their boss. My boss is a jerk and this and that, and you're thinking, yeah, because you literally call out twice a week. So you might be thinking that's not valid. Your boss should say that to you or something. You could be thinking that. But what you could say is you could say, yeah, I could see where it would really feel terrible to have someone say that to you. You can agree with that because that's true. So you don't have to agree with things that aren't true, but you can find the part of their story that you can see and you can be on board with and validate that.
Yeah. So, like, pulling from my motivational interviewing training, affirmations. And one of the activities, and you'd come, which I'm sure you have your group of folks you're training, and you say, all right, let's pick somebody that, a public figure that's maybe not so well loved. We're not going to do that right now because, oh my gosh, this world we live in right now is so divisive. But you just pick somebody, and then like, all right, give me 3 affirmations for that individual. Especially drive home the point that even if you don't like somebody or agree with their politics or their songs or how they play a sports game, whatever, you can still find something to affirm.
That's right. That's right. And it does need to be authentic because if it's not, like people can feel that. So it won't work. So it has to be when you give someone like a positive reinforcement, like you have to kind of mean it. Otherwise it just sort of falls flat, like a high five that got left hanging or something. I don't know. Like it doesn't work.
It's like salt. A little goes a long way.
There you go. Yeah.
The other, as you're talking, the other thing would be really leaning into it, the power of a reflection and reflecting the emotion. And just when I first learned MI, I was like, I got to get my reps in. I got to practice. And so just in everyday conversations, back of an Uber, back of, a Lyft, any of the ride shares, my wife was like, people tell you the strangest things. Why do they tell you this stuff? Like, it's because I just use one simple reflection. And that's it. But
because it's like this person is interested and now they want to tell you more.
Yeah.
And then you want to like, and it's so simple. And that's kind of what I teach people in the invisible intervention. I'm like, try this at the girl at the grocery counter. These are situations where it's not even going to be hard. Like get good at it because it's going to be emotionally hard to do it, when it counts. But yeah, and it works. You can literally just say the last word that they said to you with an upward inflection.
Yeah.
And it works.
Yep. Oh, yeah.
I'll tell you more.
Go in the grocery store counter and just do a quick read. Do they look like they're having a good day? Bad day? Say, rough day?
Or you could even say, what's it like to work here? And then let them tell you the last word they say. You say that with an upward inflection. It makes it sound like a question and more and more.
Yes. And speaking of telling more, learning more, I feel like you probably got a couple of YouTube videos that really unpack that a little bit.
Yes. We have playlists on our channel for everything. But if you're dealing with someone that's in denial, then there's a playlist specifically on dealing with denial, like what questions to ask, how to say it, what not to say, and that kind of thing. That's probably where I would start from.
Okay. Awesome. Yeah, I'll drop a link to that, direct to that playlist in the show notes as well. And what advice do you have for professionals in the workplace as opposed to friends and family members where the relationship dynamic is probably going to be a little bit different?
As in, Dave, are you saying as in like I think my colleague has a problem?
Yes.
Okay. I would still handle it the same way. In fact, these techniques these are the techniques to help anyone see and deal with any problem. It's not specific to addiction. It's not specific to the person. And that's the cool thing is universal. So I tell my people, it's like when you learn this, not only are you going to help your person, which helps you, but you're going to have a skill you can use, like you said, in ride share. Anywhere that works with a teenager, an adult, it doesn't matter. Yeah. I'd still say do the same.
I'd say learning motivational interviewing, learning prevention has been preparing me for parenthood.
Oh yeah.
It's so much, so much. And even just, what you're talking about with, building your credit score, parenting for connection, building that connection first before you direct, reprimand, or teach or any of that. Yeah, I'm tracking. I'm tracking.
Yeah, it's it's super helpful skill to have across the board. So, you know, you won't be upset you put the time and energy into learning it because it's useful.
You mentioned online programs. I know you got the crazy big, awesome YouTube channel, but you just kind of off the cuff. Oh yeah, it's one of those online programs. Like, tell me about that. Well, what is that? I didn't even know about it, and I thought I did my research.
Well, we have some online courses that people can take that are sort of like self-paced. One of those is the invisible intervention. We have another one called Recover You, which if anybody is like a fan of the Enneagram personality types, people that are into that sort of cultish or so they'll know if that's them. It talks about recovery based on your personality type, like what's going to get through to this personality and what's going to get through to that person. And it looks at it too from both sides, from the family member, like what's the family member's personality type and what's the person maybe that's struggling, do's and don'ts, like based on like the type of person you're dealing with, because that matters. We have a course called Rapid Relationship Repair, and that's for people in early recovery who need to earn back trust, and it's not happening fast. And so it teaches them how to do that. And our most recent thing is more of a live coaching challenge, and it's called Motivation Unlocked, and it is specifically for people with high functioning alcoholic partners. So, and there's more. I mean, I could just name them all, but there's a bunch of things.
They're all linked on your website, I'm assuming.
They're on my website.
All
Yeah.
right, all right. Show notes it is. Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. So we've got, I don't know, let's say we've got 5-10 minutes left because we've been chatting for quite a while, but time has flown by. What's something we haven't talked about that you'd like to share with the audience?
What's something your audience might want to know about?
Look at you counselor. Anything, last words, topics, curiosity, things you want to unpack or promote? Just open slate. All good.
I just want people to know that you're not powerless. You know, whether it's you or your loved one, there's a lot of things and there's a lot of ways you can do it. There's no one pathway there. So when people tell you there's nothing you can do, I wouldn't hear that. And I also wouldn't listen to people who tell you like those really crappy statistics, like only 1 in 10 people get it or whatever. I'm like, first of all, where do those come from? I don't know where those come from. They mostly come from treatment centers who do follow up to try to figure out what their numbers are. But that's got to be skewed because, like, how many people answer the phone and how do you know you're getting the truth and all that stuff. And it doesn't take into consideration that it takes most people multiple times. So if you are a treatment center and you're calling someone and you're saying, have you been sober for a year? And they say yes or no. If they say no, now you're putting them in the statistic of they didn't get it, but they might get it at 16 months. I just think don't listen to that negativity because I've watched thousands and thousands and thousands of people conquer this problem every single day. And of the mental health problems you can have, this is the most fixable. So don't let people tell you all that negative.
Absolutely. Hope is there. Hope is so powerful. It is absolutely there. People can change, and listeners, you can change. Absolutely.
And you can help someone else change. Yeah. You know how people say you can't change someone else? It's actually not, because the way you interact with someone will determine what you get back. If you think about yourself and you think about 4 different people you're around at different aspects of your life, a different part of you comes out based on who you're interacting with. So their energy impacts your energy. You can change your energy, and that will change that person. It's just a natural process.
Yes, you can. So I used to say about like motivation, but also change is, you can't actually motivate somebody. It's all internal, but you can create the conditions for them to motivate themselves. And kind of similar, not the exact same, but yeah, with change. And who you surround yourself with can help lift you up and support those protective behaviors, those healthy habits that you want to enforce, you want to grow, you want to support. And so, yeah, Absolutely. I see it. I get it. I
If you
get it.
change your energy, you change the energy of the person you're with. It's that whole co-regulation thing.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
I'm getting that hardcore with a 2.5-year-old daughter.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. When my son was little, I would think to myself, I don't know who started this bad day, but it's a bad day. When he was like a newborn, I was like, I don't know if it's me or you, but we're not on the good phase.
Yeah. We're in it together. Here we are.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. We're regulated together. Yeah.
Right, right. Well, I think I've pulled enough wisdom out of your head for today, and our show notes is filled with links for your YouTube channel, playlist, website, with the online courses as well. I just got to thank you for showing up, sharing your wisdom, and putting your wisdom out there for the world. I mean, you've worked with thousands of individuals, but just the ripple effects of your content machine on YouTube is just incredible. Thank you.
Well,
Thank you for doing
yeah,
that.
thank you for helping me spread my message, and thank you for the work that you do.
Yeah.
You're out there creating ripples too.
I'm trying.
You are.
I'm trying.
Absolutely.
More to come because together is better. But yeah, let's call this one a wrap. Thank you very much.
Thank you for listening to the Prevention Leaders Podcast with Dave Clausen. Since prevention is better together, make sure you click the subscribe button and share this and other episodes with a friend. If you have a topic idea or guest suggestion, follow us on social media or email us at info@preventionleaders.com.